What up, buddy?
What up, Coach?
What you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I just wanted to say goodnight.
Okay. I love that, bro. What's going on? You all good?
Hell yeah. You know what I mean? I just feel like, as player to coach, just checking in on you, mental, say goodnight, hope fans well, see you Monday, excited about next week. Just a good night.
Well, good, man. Well, look, I know this is weird for everybody, man, but look, you're handling everything the right way, bro, and this thing's going to get worked out. And, again, I'm thrilled to see where we take this thing, man. We're building something special, and you're going to be a huge part of it, bro.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Shotty. Take a shotty from me when you got a chance, man.
Hey, I'm drinking a shotty right now, man. Get ready to hit it. Turn it for the night, brother.
Hello, it's the One Star Cowboys podcast crew back with you. I'm Kevin Turner, Saad Yusuf, Jon Machota, Kent Garrison, all here.
Sup?
Mandatory podcast on the week of mandatory minicamp. All right, there ain't no letting up here. It's not like I show up and hit record if you want. Hope everyone's doing great, getting ready for the big summer. And let's talk about minicamp, what's going on. Obviously, you can follow all of Jon and Saad's work over at The Athletic. Follow them on social media, all of that good stuff. They're the guys who were in there in the room. Got Dak and Shotty talking this week. Shotty's happening. Is it already happening with you guys? Or are you guys just calling him Shotty? Or like I've already given it up.
Shotty. I haven't said it once, haven't written it once, and don't plan on doing it.
Good for you. You guys are strong because, like, to me, I gave up pretty quick. I was like, I kind of like calling him Shotty. When you guys see him, do y'all call him Brian or you call him Coach?
Brian.
Saad calls him B-Dog.
Oh, wow. That's a good relationship there.
Oh, side note, Saad walked up to him at practice and took off his visor and put it on his head.
Yeah.
So
no, I just call him Brian.
Can we start there? Because this podcast is kind of takeaways from minicamp where, let's be honest, it's hard to take away a ton from an X's and O's standpoint and things like that. My number one takeaway, and I really would need to get your input, is I do want to know, how is Brian Schottenheimer handling being the head coach of the Cowboys? Because it is a different job, and it is his first head coaching job. And when you have someone like Mike McCarthy, who was kind of in the league for 13, 14 years as a head coach already, kind of nothing to take from that. But how do you think Brian Schottenheimer is handling being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys so far?
I don't think you could do any better job than he's done, to be honest with you. I mean, one, no player's gotten hurt. I mean, knock on wood, do whatever superstitious thing you want to do. I mean, that's your biggest thing that you can get out of one of these mini camps, is that everybody is there participating and nobody gets hurt. And so it seems like he's accomplished all that, but I always leave a little bit of some wiggle room there, because I left Oxnard not thinking Deron Bland did anything to his foot, and the next thing you know, we're being told that he's out missing the beginning of the season because he's got a small fracture in his foot. So I didn't see anything out there that would make me think that. And then they did a walkthrough today, so I don't see how that could have happened there. So by all those accounts, then you got to feel pretty good about where you're at entering camp. So and then in terms of just the way he's handled it behind the scenes, he just is a very likable person, and he's very positive. And so this is a great time for all of that. It's the only thing that we're missing is what it's going to be like on Sunday. And I don't think any of us have seen him in a spot where he's really like chewed somebody out, and I think that'll eventually come. I think it has to. And maybe it won't be in front of us, but that's the one part that I would say we haven't seen. But everything else, like, he's a master at the press conferences. He's a master at working the room, and the way he carries himself at practice. So he hasn't said anything or done anything dumb during a press conference that would make you think like, oh, this might be a bad hire, which I say that just because it does seem like that we see that across sports from time to time, where there's just awful press conferences, or just someone just handles something really poorly. I mean, Mavs, Stars, just come to my mind recently with some stuff there. So there hasn't been any of that. So far, so good.
Yeah, I think his style is built to really, get rave reviews in May and June, and that's not a slight on his coaching ability. It's just we don't know exactly what that's going to entail and what it's going to look like, and until we figure out how he is in adversity, because putting a ping pong table in the middle of the locker room is great during OTAs, but when you're on a 2-game losing streak, you're not getting the two sides just lined up when your rookie defensive tackle Jay Atoye and Micah Parsons are just going at it in the locker room playing ping pong. That doesn't work after 2 straight losses. And I'm curious to see, not only like we talk about how success is going to look in terms of the big picture and him winning or losing in the season, but I'm talking about like even like hard times, like even a 2-game skid, because that schedule in November and December, you're going to have a 2-3 game skid somewhere in there for sure. And so I'm very curious to see how not only he does individual coaching when it comes to all that, because he still has to figure out his entire approach to the system and adversity. Like Mike McCarthy had a way, for better or worse, he just had a way that he went about it. Brian Schottenheimer still has to figure those things out, and I'm curious to see where it goes.
It'd be funny if the ping pong table is just a prop for when things start going bad, that he uses it as like, he like sets it on fire, or, kind of like the whole like smashing watermelons thing, where he just uses it as I'm just thinking like, I don't live that far from the Star, and it's just one random day in October, then like fire trucks are all going up there and stuff like, yeah, this went really out of control. Schottenheimer was trying to do something with the ping pong table, and it went out of control real fast. And so, but no, I do wonder how long it stays in there. Hey, if things are going well, then things are going well. But that's the thing about Brian Schottenheimer. Things are going well right now. And I think that's where he's at a great spot. Where we're really going to tell is when things are going poorly. And eventually they will.
Yeah, and Mike, and not even concerned, my curiosity about him is, again, X's and O's, the actual play calling, the rhythms of play calling that you get into during the game, how you manage timeouts and the clock and all of that stuff. Like, that's where we start to find, and that's going to take a while, and I understand that. But I think I would like to ask, if you were, you guys are reporters, you're going to this, and you're talking to another team, and they're like, well, what are the big things about the Cowboys? I would think Brian Schottenheimer and George Pickens are the top 2 things, because I'm kind of bored with anything regarding Micah's contract. I know I probably shouldn't be, but would you say those are the 2 things? Just the fact that Schottenheimer's the head coach and then George Pickens?
So what am I talking to this other team about?
No, they're just asking you, what's the deal with the Cowboys, man?
Oh, yeah, I would say, those things. But, I mean, if you're another team game playing for them, all I keep thinking about is, like, you got to put your safeties as deep as possible. Make them try and beat you running the football. That's another thing. Like, OTA's minicamp, people want to know about the running game. Like, that is just not those 2 offseason activities are not a vehicle to find out what they have in the run game. That's the part where even Dak talked about today, how you're going to have to run to open up things and stuff like that. They're absolutely going to have to do that, and we haven't seen that so far. So when you said talking to another team, that's the very first thing I would think of. I'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, they got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. They got wide receivers and pass catchers all day. They have a 10-year veteran starting quarterback. So they're going to throw all day on you if you guys are going to allow that to happen, but make them run on you. And to your point about the whole play caller thing, if they can't run the football, that's where things could get really out of control, because you're the head coach and the play caller. You can't run the football, but you're still trying to run it. Now CD's not getting touches. Now Pickens isn't getting touches. The defense is pissed off because you guys are getting off the field immediately. They're not getting any rest at all. I mean, that's the type of stuff that can go wrong. I will say, with all of that being said, I don't think I just said anything that Brian Schottenheimer, being a longtime assistant, hasn't thought about. So he will probably have a plan for all of that. He knows. I mean, his dad's a longtime successful NFL head coach. He knows that everything's not going to be perfect. What do I do when this happens? What do I do when that happens? I mean, it kind of goes to this, and I've probably beaten down too many people talking about this, but like I'm so into this Netflix American Manhunt, I think it's called, for Osama bin Laden. and you don't know about this, but they worked on all these for months about all these possible things that can go wrong on the raid. Like, what if the helicopter goes down? What if this happens? What if we can't get to this door? And you don't know about that because you just find out about the final raid. You know, like you don't know that they practice all these different things because it's not going to go smoothly. And a helicopter did go down, and so
you're saying they rehearsed it, they built a replica of it. No, they really did.
Yeah,
KT.
no, absolutely. So you watched it, Ken?
No, but I know the story what you're talking about. They built a replica of the compound and practiced the raid and all that. Yeah, very Nathan Fielder.
Wow.
So that's the whole thing where, like, I think about that sometimes with this. I'm just like, you, Ryan Schottenheimer, you've been an assistant coach for as long as he has. Your dad's been a head coach in the NFL, or was a head coach in the NFL for a long time. Like, you got to be ready for this stuff. There can't be anything that he hasn't seen, you know? And so, but I bring that up because that's not stuff that we can see in May, June.
Yeah, and also like the adversity part, like you don't even get practice with that as a head coach because KT, I could run down just the comments A to Z on the roster. Like Dak is just talking about how, you know, his rehab is going so great because he got a head start. George Pickens saying this is the fastest team he's been on since Georgia. You know, the offensive line.
Did you think that was a shot at the Steelers?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. The offensive line is so strong that, like, I forgot which player it was yesterday said they couldn't even, like, get the weight off the rack of the bench. And, you know, it's just not Ezeraku, like, Brian Schottenheimer used, like, 15 reelies to talk about how great he's doing. It's just everything is sunshine. Everybody's in the best shape of their life. Everybody is just doing really good right now. So Schottenheimer hasn't had to put out any fires, and he hasn't had to deal with any adversity. And as you know, we've said, like, this just isn't the environment to do that. I think training camp will be a little bit better of a taste, but really nothing's going to replicate Sundays. But yeah, right now we're just not seeing anything that's going to, you know, kind of simulate what's going to be hard times.
Well, you know, John said something interesting. Like, I need my safeties to play back if you're game planning for the Cowboys. I did an interview a couple days ago. It was a guy for he was a Rams podcast host, right? And he asked me to come on and talk Cowboys. He's doing a series of them. I was like, okay, I don't know why you're asking me. I got a couple guys here, I was basically, and I was like, well, Schottenheimer was with you like over a decade ago with the Rams. And he was like, oh boy. And he had a lot of bad things to say. And he was like, oh, there is no vertical game. It was all, you know, very intermediate. And I'm like, well, yeah, that was 2012 also. And I don't know, who was the quarterback of the Rams in 2012? Are we talking Sam Bradford then? Or what are we doing? That was a long time ago. So like, I feel like even when people bring up like the Seattle stuff, I just go, I kind of think it doesn't matter. Like I'm almost looking at him, and maybe this is too optimistic of me, but it's where I'm at right now, as a clean slate, and he's different. It's just different. I mean,
hey, on that topic though, KT, why would you do what they did at running back and make a trade for George Pickens if all you cared about was running the football and doing short passes? Like, that just seems like really bad roster moves to do those things. It just, you would go out and make a bigger investment at running back if that's what you were going to do.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You'd be like, you would literally tell Jerry, like, no, don't go for George Pickens. I mean, that'd be great. He's an outstanding receiver, but where it can be his greatest is probably being vertical, you know, and you know, playing to open up the defense. So I don't know how that fits with this roster. If that's the case, then yeah, things would fall apart pretty quick, I think. If George Pickens is running deep balls and they're not throwing it to him, they're just throwing little underneaths to Jalen Tolbert, Jonathan Mingo. Yeah, it's someone's getting their face mask pulled for a 15-yard penalty and tripping somebody, and some other stuff is going off the rails.
Doesn't it feel good to kind of not really know fully about how they're going to be? I mean, we know who Dak is, and that's what the offense is based around. But I feel like we're coming off a few years, especially 2024, when, you know, Jerry was clearly pissed about what happened in 2023. I don't know how much that impacted the roster in 2024. Certainly feels like a little bit. But, like, it is exciting to, like, just kind of know that it's going to be a little different, and you don't know what to expect with the offense.
Yeah.
I don't know how it couldn't be. I mean, if you have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, even if you're whoever you think is the worst starting quarterback in the league, there's at least some reason to be optimistic about what that team can do offensively in the upcoming season. I mean, when we talk about how positive the Cowboys are, I can't remember a time in my time covering the team where they weren't positive this time of year, but it also makes me wonder, like, what NFL team isn't positive this time of year? You know, I mean, I would think that they probably all are, but if they don't do the Pickens move, I would be a lot less interested in July and being in Oxnard. The Pickens move is the reason where you're like, okay, this could be really different from the last few years.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add to that is, you know, in the way that you're talking, KT, in that context, it reminds me a little bit of 2021, just because anytime you're coming off a year where your starting quarterback missed half the year, you kind of feel like it's a flush. Now, it's dangerous to think that way because I'll be quick to remind everyone knows that this team was playing really bad with Dak at quarterback in 2020 and also in 2024, that was the case. But you tend to just kind of flush everything that happened last year. You think about, oh yeah, the top 4 defensive ends were gone, the quarterback was gone, and all this. And so I think that's just something that you end up kind of thinking in that way. But yeah, I think it's a lot of optimism because people look at it as kind of a flush from last year.
When you talk to George Pickens meeting with the media, obviously things are all good and he's happy to be here and things like that. Dak obviously spoke about him, and Dak's going to say great things. So it's really hard to like really crack that code and things like that. But do you have any takeaways from what some of those guys were saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think with George Pickens, a lot of the reasons it makes sense why you would be happy about the move. He gets to play with CeeDee Lamb, who's going to make his job easier. He's going to make CeeDee's job easier. He gets to play with Dak Prescott, the best quarterback that he's played with. Fresh start with a new team, and he's in a contract year. So it would look really bad for George Pickens if things weren't heading in this direction, you know? But yeah, as long as he stays healthy, I mean, he certainly looks the part. You know, I mean, he is a big body wide receiver. You can line up all over the field. There's no reason why he shouldn't have a big impact, why he shouldn't be 1,000-yard receiver. You know, I mean, I think it'd be a waste if he wasn't. And if that happens, then I just think that it'll be great for him and CD, but then it'll also be great for Jake Ferguson and Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Tolbert, because these guys won't even be facing a team's second or third best defensive back. They're going to be on, some players that they should win those matchups on, you know, and Dak has shown throughout his career that he will throw to you if you're in an advantageous matchup. So yeah, it all looks like you would expect it to look, you know, and Pickens has been there. He's engaged. Seems like he enjoys being around his teammates. It seems like he's got a really good bond with CeeDee Lamb. So all of that stuff's great. But kind of like the Brian Schottenheimer thing on Sundays was when you'll be judged. Pickens will be judged on Sundays as well. You know, is there going to be a quarter or two where he doesn't really get a ball? Is he cool with that when that happens? Or is he getting, 7-8 passes and CD's not getting any? Is he cool with that? You know, I think they will be, but you got to see it on Sundays.
Yeah, and I didn't track Pickens' press conferences and stuff in Pittsburgh, but I'll say he's been coached up very well to really just keep things tight, not say anything. His answers probably don't go past 10 seconds each on average, if that. He's not saying anything controversial, not ruffling any feathers. It's all straight line. So I don't know if that's how it was in Pittsburgh or not. And then, things just happen on Sundays, but I can tell you right now it's different. And I've had a few conversations and been around him in a few conversations when the cameras aren't up, and he is a forthcoming, engaging person to talk to, and he does that. But it's very different when the cameras and mics are on, and I think it's by intention on that.
You always take the guy.
I mean, KT's not showing up asking him what he thinks about the protests in LA or something like that either. So
Definitely not. But maybe I need to get back in the locker room.
We always joke about that before we go to a Schottenheimer or McCarthy, whatever press conference. We often joke about first question with whatever's the big topic, just to totally throw them for a curveball. They think they're going to be talking about the loss on Sunday, and we're just who'd you vote for?
What are your thoughts on Trump versus Elon? I don't know if that'd be the best plan.
It's never happened, but one of these days.
I feel like, get that credential snagged pretty quick if you start messing around too much too.
Yeah, probably.
Something like that.
But if you're going out, that's a way to go out.
You're going out. I think about George. I'd rather have a guy who like cares a lot, than the guy that doesn't care. And I do feel like George Pickens like really cares. Now I think he wants his numbers to be good, and I think he wants to go get the ball. But also, I haven't hung out with him. Me and him aren't going to the mall, So
well, he's never been a guy, to my knowledge, that was ever any away from the football field issues. It was very clear to me from afar watching its. Like we've seen throughout all of the NFL. Watching. That's all I do. When I watch TV, I watch Netflix. Watching that wide receiver thing on Netflix. Your guy, Devontae Adams, KT. Frustrated he would get on when that he's being. Not only is he not getting the ball when he was with the Raiders, but it's also one of those things where you also have this crew that's there documenting all of this, and so you're put on a show. And it just doesn't happen, which is probably also why Jerry was frustrated last year in the offseason because he's had this crew following him around for his documentary. And he was hoping that would go off and he'd have this great story tale ending to that 2023 season. It never happened. But in terms of on the field, I just have always thought of George Pickens as a guy that just has been frustrated because he's getting open, he's doing his job, but he can't do his job to the fullest without the football. And if you can't get him the football, then he's getting frustrated. And that's what we've seen. It's not been an off the field that I've heard of or anything like that.
It's always wild when guys go to play for a way lesser quarterback. They signed to go to a place with a way lesser quarterback, and you're like, well, what did you think was going to happen? And it usually doesn't go well, but they got more money on the contract and things like that. But what did you really think was going to happen?
We've done that recently. I'm trying to think of one.
Well,
Adams, it's I get the whole Fresno connection with Carr,
Yeah. Yeah, his was a little.
I'm trying to think of I guess
way back, Randy Moss.
DK could have done that if Rodgers didn't come, and he's Rodgers just retires, and DK is just sitting there with Mason Rudolph. Is he still?
So many guys get signed. I was thinking a minute ago, it's different because the older. Cooper Kupp just lost Matt Stafford, so go enjoy your time with Sam Darnold now.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's not as. You look for the real juice, when a guy goes from, someone to
Saad had a good
Mason
one.
Rudolph.
Who was Randy's quarterback in Oakland?
Kerry Collins.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like his signing to go play with Daniel Jones. We're going to love that. Have a good time.
I just think of that for Randy is that scene from Happy Gilmore where that lady jumps on the car and is like, get me out of
here. Here, eat this. Leave us alone. Happy Gilmore 2 coming to a theater near you and Netflix, John.
I'm a little nervous from the previews I've seen. I feel like they're really pushing into every funny bit from the first one. We got to work that in there. And sometimes
honey,
that could be too much.
Just enjoy it for what it is, man.
Yeah.
There's no Rotten Tomatoes score that could ever affect how I feel about getting a sequel of a movie that you never were expecting to get again.
Yeah, you say that, and then there'll be a 10-minute jelly roll appearance in there.
No! They put Boban in the movie. How bad could it be? Okay. The Cowboys have got a little miniature Bengals thing going on here with Micah being equaling Trey Hendrickson. And then Ezerike is Shamar Stewart in this case right now. It does feel like the moods for Micah and Ezerike 100 times more positive than what's going on in Cincinnati. But it's interesting that deal will get done, right? Both of these deals are going to get done, right?
And it surprises me too because that's an organization that is not that far removed from being a play or two away from winning the Super Bowl, and those are a lot of the. I mean, you got several of the key pieces that were there. And then you look at the Cowboys and you're like, you could totally see how it would be so easy to have those things that are going on in Cincinnati happen in Dallas, And you wouldn't even really fault the guys. If you just reverse both of those, I think 90% of people are taking Hendrickson and Stewart's side because they're like, yeah, Jerry just whatever, man. He just doesn't know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to gauge how much people are taking either their side right now in Cincinnati, but it's just lesser of a story than if Jerry Jones is the one on the other side of this whole thing, But
For sure.
But man, I'll tell you what. I don't know how you felt about this, but I don't know if I've ever seen a player that has cared less about that contract than when Donovan Ezeraku was asked about it. It was just like, my agent will figure it out. I don't know. I'm going to be here, Like,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, he literally didn't seem like it was really that big of a deal to him at all.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a big deal to him. And then on the Micah front, I mean, I was surprised. Like, he can't help himself. He really does love the game. He loves being out there. The first day of minicamp, he was out there. It was a true hold in. Like, he's just on the field talking to Jerry for 30 minutes on the field and nothing really going on. But then the second day, he came out a little late after warm-ups began, and he's just like, standing around in individual drills with the pass rushers. And then and at the beginning, he doesn't have a helmet on or anything. Then he just like puts his helmet on. He's shooting off the line with Ezeraku and doing the whole drill and competing and, throwing his arms up as if all that stuff. So, of course, he, didn't do anything in team drills. He was tossing the football around with Trayvon Diggs during that time. But no, in terms of his individual, like it's really interesting because it's a very similar scenario, if I'm not mistaken, years wise as to what CD was in last year, and CD was completely absent, all that. Micah was here competing in individuals, has already promised that he's going to be in Oxnard, has not promised that he's going to practice, but he has promised he'll be in Oxnard. So it's a very different situation. It's very interesting.
That's one of those things too, when you say that, like, it makes me think of, we posted some pictures off of Micah jumping into some drills on Wednesday, and it makes me think of
videos too.
Like, if you're the agent, like, you got to be like, Micah, do not put the helmet on and go out there. So that's what made it kind of funny to me when he was talking about, I already got the house in Oxnard. I don't want to be out there, And then it took 3 follow-ups before I was like, but will you be practicing? He's like, well, we'll see or whatever. And I'm just thinking, you're going to be out there and you're going to be like, all right, I'll do a couple reps here. And your agent is going to be, David Mulugeta is going to be like, Micah, we talked about this. All right. You're not doing anything. Stay at the house. Okay. I'm trying to get you $1 billion. Do you see what I got, Deshaun Watson? Would you just listen to me? I have the blueprint for this thing.
Jerry's like, I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. I did think it was kind of crazy. We're about to throw it over. We've got Kent Garrison warming up in the bullpen, who's got something for us. But it was kind of interesting to me that the Cowboys social media team, the prank call thing that they're pulling off, doing the trend from a few months ago where guys just call each other to check in and say goodnight. I don't know what's so funny about it. I call and check in on you guys all the time. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But Micah, while being recorded by the Cowboys social media team, calls Brian Schottenheimer. And about 10 seconds into it, Brian Schottenheimer's like, hey, man, you're handling this well, and it's all going to work out. And I'm like, man, they probably shouldn't put that out there, but they're the Cowboys, so they do. But I just thought that was strange. It was a strange encounter. It's just something to investigate. Nothing there, really, but it's very odd that quickly Brian Schottenheimer moved to, you're handling it like to his contract. Like, they are all thinking about it. Even when they say they're not, they absolutely are thinking about getting this done with Micah.
But I'm sure, too, if you're Brian Schottenheimer and you're sitting there at night watching some TV, watching American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden, and you're sitting there, you look down at your phone and Micah Parsons is calling you, wouldn't you think it's probably something contract related? Or, coach, I'm in trouble. I mean, late at night, what do you think?
Yeah, any coach.
I feel like all coaches, when they see a player call them late at night, that they're like, oh boy, here we go. But honestly, I thought Schottenheimer handled it pretty well, because I think that so many ways it could have been so much worse. Like, to your point about the contract, like, I mean, just an easy little, hey man, we know how Jerry is, man. Just wait him out. But he easily could have went down that street without getting too crazy, but just crazy enough to where people are like, oh, geez, here we go. And he didn't. I thought he handled it well. I know there's some people that are giving it to him because he said bro too much or whatever like that. But I don't know. Like, I didn't think he was phony or anything like that. Listening to Brian Schottenheimer on that call is just how Brian Schottenheimer is. Like, I don't think he was being phony or anything like that. Like, I thought he handled it about as good as he could. But I will also say another thing I thought about was just that's a great example of the changing of times. I've said it on here more and more. I feel like every time we do one of these shows and talk about coaching, about how that whole like hard-nosed style is gone. And you just think about all these like former hard-nosed coaches like Belichick or Tom Landry or something like that. Like that's the type of move that like those guys would not handle well. And they would want no part of you doing that. They would be pissed that you put that out. I mean, we've seen it with college coaches get frustrated with players running like a live on their phone.
Yeah.
In a post-game like speech and stuff like that, where they just put the phone down and, I think Antonio Brown's probably done it and, things like that. And those things sometimes don't go well. I thought Brian handled it pretty well. I mean, the best part is, and Micah said he did call Jerry. Jerry just didn't answer. I mean, can you imagine what level that thing went to?
Well, just like, can you imagine McCarthy getting pranked by the Cowboys social media team? Like this is way different. And
I thought he handled that whole getting handed the vape pen from McAfee pretty well at the draft. I mean,
yeah,
that's about as an impromptu as I don't know. Like it's tough to say because, as you know very well, I mean, so I always go back. All right. I don't want to share all of this story. We'll put it to you this way. We think it's probably difficult to work with Aaron Rodgers. He's worked with Aaron Rodgers. So there's probably even worse than what we know of. So that's the only reason why I'm like, and he dealt with that whole Favre saga when that was going on. So I think that he probably would, he's pretty seasoned. I think he'd handle it better than you think.
Yeah.
Like,
and on the Jerry one though, when he said that, I'm just thinking like, remember like Jerry was talking to you guys, I think at the owners meeting or something. He's like, yeah, like 3 people have my number. And I just imagine Jerry gave Micah his number like in January, like, hey, I got you, like contracts, we'll talk, let's talk about it. And then Micah's just calling him to do a little prank that's 2 months late.
No, but or even just the fact that he didn't answer and he finds out like that this bat phone that only has 3 numbers in it, it never rings, but he gets this call, he doesn't know what it is, and then like Charlotte or one of his grandkids tells him, yeah, this is what he did, and shows him the Schottenheimer video, and Gary's literally like, okay, how do you delete a number off this thing? Like, we're not doing this. Actually,
tell him
Jerry
not to
probably
post
knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, Jerry did the Harlem Shake thing. Remember the pizza or whatever?
Yeah.
He's done these things.
Very strange.
I mean, the way he's handled fake Jerry, I think he'd be pretty good about it. Honestly, that's why
mannequin challenge.
Yeah, like to be honest, all these little things just bring back why, to me, it was just so surprising that he handled that radio interview the way he did last year during the season. Because that's so unlike Jerry to handle something that poorly. He's normally like the best at just random stuff like that,
Kent has got a little something for us before we mosey on out of here. Make sure you like and follow, subscribe, and spread the word on the One Star Cowboys podcast. Hello, yes. Kent.
Hello, boys. I didn't see it as a prank call. It's interesting that you guys said prank call. I thought it was just
I think Schottenheimer might have said something like he got me or something like that.
Yeah, Schottenheimer said that.
Yeah.
I get. Well, first of all, if he hadn't reacted like that, we would have never seen it. They just wouldn't have posted it, right? So, wanted to ask you guys about Hard Knocks. I don't think we've ever talked about it on the show. The fact that they're doing NFC East on Hard Knocks during the season. What you think about that? And, whether Shoddy will come out the winner there.
Yeah, there'll be all kinds of free throw competitions and things like that. And I bet
Austin Powers screenings.
That, and it just, I think there's going to be, not that there's always like, this, Kent, there's usually a lot of families there. I think this is going to be the most families that we've ever seen out in Oxnard. And so I bet you that there's some real, like, I know that, Jason Garrett took him to the beach and things like that. I think there's going to be like some group stuff that happens at training camp or even during the season where we'll all be great for like Hard Knocks type content. And then the fact that Brian Schottenheimer's personality is, because I always maintain, like we've talked about a bunch, you got to have the okay from the team. Like you have to sign off on the stuff, much like Ken just said about that call. So I just think Brian's going to be cool with like a lot of stuff that he's going to show, and it's going to be kind of unique. But there will be, don't get me wrong, there's going to be people, especially people that don't like the Cowboys, that will make fun of some of the stuff that's probably in there that he's doing, and kind of like making the jokes that we've made about the Austin Powers.
Sure.
Well, it'll just be interesting to compare it to Sirianni and Dayball and
True.
Dan Quinn in the same episode, because they're going to be going all around. So yeah, that the Bills are the one in training camp, and Cowboys and NFC East is the one that they do during the season. So I assume there will be 6 or so games under the Cowboys' belt before we see any episodes from it. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of position they're in once the episodes start rolling out. I wanted to ask you, John, as well. I thought you were going here earlier. The Netflix Cowboys
I
doc.
felt like I already hit my quote on how many times I pubbed Netflix. So
You said Netflix and America's, and I was like, I thought you were going to talk about the America's Team documentary that's coming out. It's coming out in mid-August. They put that out there, put out a poster. What have fans been saying to you guys about that?
No, I haven't heard anything. I think fans are kind of beaten down with that type of stuff. That's just my opinion. Like it's, it's about the 90s Cowboys and Jerry being a wildcatter and a gambler and all that stuff like that. But I just think that it'll do well because it's the Cowboys and Jerry's going to have a lot of great access. And I think we're all going to love it. But I can see a lot of Cowboys fans kind of being like, yeah, cool. Win on Sundays. All right. Sounds good. Everybody break.
Yeah. And I also think that the 2023 season ending was just so gut-wrenching for that documentary because you put Jimmy in the Ring of Honor. You had this team healthy going into playoffs, and you don't even have to necessarily win the Super Bowl, but just don't get embarrassed. And I think that makes this documentary feel a little bit different because you're able to tie the whole Jimmy thing and all that and that season, and you wear it like a badge of honor, and then you're able to bridge the 90s to 2023 and hope that everyone just kind of ignores the 25 years in between, and on screen it just looks really good. But I'm interested to see how this looks because it's not going to be that way.
Hey, they added it to where they don't have the Green Bay game. They make it sound like the season it just ends with them we got the 2 seed in the playoffs, and then it just cuts to something else, and you're just like, wait, what?
Well, I will put out there in the similar vein of Hard Knocks that I believe Jerry Jones is an executive produer of this.
He is.
So,
He is, and
nothing's coming out that he's not going to be okay with people knowing. So that's kind of a little bit disappointing,
Yeah, and I bet they end the season. I bet they do end it in 2023. If I had to make a bet, they do, but they ended at Jimmy's Ring of Honor induction, and that's kind of where it ends.
That's the end, yeah.
I mean, 10 episodes.
I want one more. I want him, at least even if it is only a second or two, that can't be. The final scene has to be him salting a McGriddle. I mean, can we agree on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think there should be a full episode on Michael Irvin at Wichita Falls with the scissors in hand. I think there should be we need stories, and they're not going to do it. Someone does need to do a Dallas Cowboys documentary that doesn't involve the Joneses, because this sounds. I swear I'm not being salacious. This is just interesting, entertaining stuff. What was happening at the White House, and all the stories in the '90s Cowboys are just unbelievable, and that's what you need. And I think this is going to be a little different. But 10 episodes, a lot could happen. There'll be a lot of time here.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of random stuff in there that would be funny, and maybe they do get in some of that stuff. Yeah, I agree with you, though. We were actually talking about that at practice earlier this week, too, about that little scissor incident.
Crazy, right? I mean, it's one of the wildest.
Wild.
It's one of the wildest sports stories, and how one thing, a centimeter, could change everything. For
that one too, and wasn't there a convertible incident at Valley Ranch too, where somebody used the bathroom in somebody's convertible?
I've never heard that one.
That's what I've heard. That's what I
This is pretty good.
I don't remember who it was, but
the closest I have to that is
when you work for the team, Kent?
No, this was maybe early '90s, Jimmy Johnson days, but I don't remember who it was. I'll have to look it up. But last thing I have for you guys, though, is any update on the playlist And have you heard any like pop bangers? Like, are they throwing out Sabrina Carpenter, Chapel Roan stuff, or is it all hip hop, current hip hop songs, old school hip hop, that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, none of that type of pop music like that. All hip hop. I can't even think of your traditional Garrett throwback, like classic rock. I can't even think of one of those songs. It's all been Drake, Snoop, some other. There's been some more current stuff.
Posty.
No, I haven't really heard any Posty. I'm trying to think. What did they
Kendrick.
have yesterday? There was some Kendrick Lamar.
There was the song that got everybody really grooving and warm ups the most was "Where the Hood At," which I was really happy to see.
Yeah.
That Dak and everyone kind of amped it up a little bit with that one.
Good.
Yeah.
This is our year, man.
Is it?
I mean, we can all have the year.
Maybe it is. Maybe
What
it
if
is.
it was? What if it was?
I say that every year. I tell this to Saad all the time. I'm like, what if I was to take a job somewhere else, or I went somewhere, and that season I leave, that's one that the Cowboys like go all the way. I mean, I'm not joking. I would be sick for the rest.
Wouldn't it be the most Cowboys thing ever that they spend an entire year filming this reality show, and then the year after they do it, they win the Super Bowl, and they didn't get to film any of that?
I hate the film crews there all the time now.
Yeah, maybe.
How crazy it would be if they won the Super Bowl without a documentary, but let's just say if they won the Super Bowl with just how many people would jump on the bandwagon celebrity wise and things like that. And you saw it with the Knicks. I mean, like they literally couldn't show a Knicks throughout the playoffs without highlighting Timothée Chalamet and Kylie and everybody else. So that part would be crazy. But then just the fact of if they were doing it, why there was a documentary going on, and just how like all of that getting put out there.
That was wild.
I can't even think of a comp in sports. I really can't. That would be on that level. And I always say that about the Cowboys because Jerry's still alive.
Yeah.
After Jerry, like it would still be wild or whatever, but it's just the fact that the stuff that Jerry would do if that happened and say, and how he would carry himself. And I mean, there's almost nothing that you can rule out, And so because of that, it makes it the most fascinating part of it, Like they win a Super Bowl, and like a month later, he has a Dak statue out right next to Tom Landry. Like just completely skips over the 90s, skips over any of like Staubach or anything, and just boom, he's like, now we're putting a Dak statue up,
Well, we're going to end it on that positive note of thinking of if the Cowboys did win the Super Bowl. Make sure you're checking out Jon and Saad's work over at The Athletic. Big movie guy. The Mad About Movies podcast is happening over there with Kent Garrison. So we'll see you soon. It was mandatory minicamp, So if anything happens, Micah contract gets done, you will hear from us in an emergency podcast form.
Breaking update.
Are you serious?
The story, apparently Charles Haley did this in San Francisco.
Okay, I remember. I don't remember the
using the bathroom or on somebody's convertible.
That's not the worst one.
Yeah, there was an ace bandage one and a couple other things in San Francisco that got the coaching staff to say, we just need to get him out of here. Yeah, no, that's all that stuff is in the Boys Will Be Boys book for sure. I remember that.
That's what I'm remembering. Yep.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. For Saad, for John, for Kent, I'm Kevin. We will see you next time on the One Star Cowboys podcast. Good day, mate.
Sade.